My name is Mariam Brutu. I'm coming from Tanzania and working with the Tanzania Forest Service Agency as a forest officer at the same time as a risk management coordinator.
My name is Rahima Mohammed. I'm from Ethiopia. My organization is Environmental Protection Authority. I'm working on climate change expert or climate change concern.
Daniel Slunge, Sweden. I'm the Policy Engagement Director at EFD Global Hub at the University of Gothenburg.
My name is Rohan Diziwe from Rwanda. I work for the Ministry of Infrastructure as a transport economist.
My name is Daphne Babirie. I come from Uganda. I work with the National Planning Authority as a senior macroeconomist.
My name is Stephen Nyaga. I work with the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Kenya. I'm an economist in the planning unit of the ministry.
My name is Dawit Rubishet Mulatu. I am a senior research fellow at Environment and Climate Research Center in Ethiopia, which is part of the Global Hub for Environment for Development initiative. I'm also a support team for the Inclusive Green Economy Research Program.
This program has enabled me to understand what is IG, at the same time to have a link between IG and what we are doing in our country as a forest officer in conservation issues.
This IG program is the first one is capacity building or capacity from these different lecturers and the different professionals. The second one is experience from different countries, how working their own IG.
IG program, I understood that it is a key for sustainable development because it integrates three main things. There is the aspect of economic growth, and there is the aspect of environmental protection and the aspect of social consideration. And by considering those three main things, then we reach sustainable development. That's my take home from that program.
My biggest take home has been the issue of inclusion. As IGE stands, it's inclusive green economy. So we have to make sure that we leave no one behind. We tend to focus more on green without making sure that no one is being left behind. I'll give an example of putting in place, for instance, a policy instrument that taxes charcoal, which is one of the biggest energy sources in Uganda. And this particular energy is used by mainly the poor, and if you put in place such a policy instrument, it means that you're affecting the livelihood of these people because you're increasing their costs, and without providing a cheaper alternative, you will in turn be just making these people go through higher costs, and in the end, they'll still continue using charcoal, but they'll be poorer. So that will not be inclusion. The second issue that I took note of during this training has been the issue of collaborating regionally, making sure that the policies across the region are streamlined. For instance, when Kenya banned the use of charcoal and Uganda had not banned it, we found that there was an increase in demand of charcoal in Uganda. So we ended up having a bigger impact in terms of deforestation or burning of charcoal in Uganda, which affects our environment, whereas in Kenya, they were not having the same problem. So we have to make sure that we streamline our policies across the different nations, especially those ones that are close to each other.
My take home in this IG program is that the business as usual is not sustainable. It will not drive the economy towards inclusive green economy. And therefore, we need a very robust multi-sectoral approach in environmental issues. We need to create a social acceptance in our policies and program. We also need to have a green economy transformation, where it's not just the Ministry of Environment that is spearheading IG matters, but we need to also collaborate with the Ministry of Finance and Planning. The other aspect is application of green economy policy instruments, taxes, subsidies, in driving the IGA.
Program brings so many opportunities for us as researchers. First of all, we get in a close dialogue with the people on the policy side to learn about the challenges they face. I mean, as a researcher, it's not only kind of finding optimal instruments, the optimal in the textbook sense, but also something that works well in practice. And here we definitely get good discussions with the policymakers on what is hindering policy instruments that we think are effective or should be effective to be that in practice. And secondly, it's of course also a very good opportunity for us researchers in Sweden to get into very close collaboration with our research colleagues in the African universities and centers. And that is so enriching to work on survey developments and analysis together. Those are only two examples, but I also think that most importantly is that it gives us an opportunity to do research that is very relevant for the very big changes and the green transitions that are needed in all countries, actually.
This program is designed to develop the capacity of the government experts and decision makers on green economy initiative. So the program gives an opportunity to interact with the people who are working closely with the government, and also it gives us also an opportunity to know what is on the ground related to green economy initiative. At the same time, also when they do their assignment, we are interacting with exchange of review, national policy reviews. So those activities are a good opportunity to learn from them, and as well as also to share our experience for the practitioners in the training program.
In my organization will be conducted through training, awareness creation to the top management, as well as to those who will be the group of people who are going to be taught what is IGE, how to relate it with their daily activities.
In my organization, as they are working CRG strategy. CRG means Climate Resilient Green Economy Strategy. Climate Resilient Green Economy Strategy is implemented by different entity and stakeholder, different implementing entity and NGOs, different organizations are working on this one. Organization, the coordination entity and implementing entity are very weak coordination. I want to work on this IGE assignment, identify the gap of coordination entity and the coordination entity and implementing entity, identify the gap to solve the implementation and for sustainability.
Yeah, first of all, we saw that there is a challenge for IG program to be implemented, such as lack of knowledge of it. First thing is to carry out a kind of awareness in my organization and to show the interest in it to achieve our goals as the organization in charge of infrastructure. Then to bridge that gap of knowledge, I will say them the benefits and how to set goals by including IG items.
As a macroeconomist, I'll be looking at issues concerning the national accounts. I have worked with the Ministry of Finance in developing the adjusted macroeconomic indicators for Uganda, and currently they're not widely used. So I'll try to make sure that these indicators are used. I'll use them more as I do my economic performance reports, so that there's more visibility on the impacts of the environment on the economy, because these adjusted macroeconomic indicators, in essence, help to show us the environmental impacts of economic activity in those macroeconomic aggregates like GDP and national savings?
In the Ministry of Environment, the first thing I'm going to do to drive IG is to do sensitization, especially of key stakeholders. Those are directors who are in charge of various departments of climate change, environmental education and awareness. And this will help in buying sponsorship, because one of the things we've learned is that sponsorship is very important in accepting change in an organization. The other one will be aligning, being in planning, issues of aligning planning and budgeting to IG, where I'll be among the top who will be spearheading mobilization of IG aspects in the budgeting process. The other part will be to influence policies for IG at the ministry level.
This can be done through collaboration with these stakeholders, training, awareness, creation, that will help to bridge the gap between.
To bridge the gaps of policy, especially policymakers and research institutes, the very important thing is to integrate both research institute and policymakers without in the case of research institute, output, when you done not used, is put in the shelf. If it is integrated, they are implemented, they are inserted into policy, it's need more integration and cooperation with each others.
The main thing, the main challenge is that we sometimes plan by heart without having some baseline or the basic to plan. Then we need some kind of reliable data. Then by having data, then we can engage research from those data. Then you can have informed decision from that output, but done from the researchers. Then we formulate the policies based on data instead of planning by heart. Then the gap will be to close the gap. It will make sense by having database in place.
I think the biggest where we can bridge that gap is collaborating. There's need for more collaboration between the academia and the policymakers. So I feel that there's need for also involving the academia in the policy formulation process, because they undertake a lot of research in these areas that can feed into the policy formulation process.
I think there is a good progress in Kenya. Currently, in the national system of performance contracting, we have a new indicator, which is a core mandate of every MDA, which is on science, technology, innovation, mainstreaming, which is likely to bridge the gap between the research and policy. And I think one of the key requirements, one of the things we need to do is, first of all, to ensure that resources are allocated for research, to also inform policies. The other part is, now that perhaps in the ministries or in government we have very serious policymakers, is to integrate them or to bring incentives that we are able to bring policymakers in research, perhaps training. We can even do special training, scholarships, or even outsource where researchers, where policymakers are integrated in research.